supposed to be the guy. I'm gonna call this special meeting back to order at 7:11. Delaware Daylight Savings Time. And I'd like to make a comment. The last part of this meeting is about what to do with our $2.435 billion recent settlement. I know that there's a lot of us that have got different opinions about what to do. I've got my personal opinion, which I think most of you probably read in the Delaware Indian News 2.5 months ago. To be fair, I really think the way to handle this discussion would be to let the tribal council members speak, and then let a trust board member speak, and that'll leave Chairman Mary Jo Peterson and me down at the end. We don't have to put on brass knuckles and have a fight or anything. But I'm simply asking everybody, don't make this a personal thing. It's really a question of what we're going to do. Is every council member and trust board member in agreement with that?
Chief, if I'm recognized, I would say not every member. I think there's some confusion as well. In the last meeting, we passed a motion to put it into trust. So it's not in question, it's actually in motion to put it in a sovereign wealth trust.
That is true.
To clarify.
It's not settled what trust.
Right. I agree.
Now, we're going to recognize people in the audience too for 3 minutes. But let's let the council members and trust members, all of us, speak first. And I'm not trying to be negative to our tribal members. I think the trust board members and the tribal council simply knows more about the subject than most individual tribal members. Let's start with Joe Brooks first.
Well, I've got a comment to make before we start.
Okay.
If we limit our tribal members to 3 minutes, I sure think we are going to limit the council members and the trust board members to 3.
Absolutely.
That sounds fair to me.
That way we won't be here all night,
Right.
and I don't want to go first.
Why not? You're at the end of the table.
I will.
All right, go. Start the time.
This is merely my opinion. Docket 72 and 298 was paid out. This monies that we just received was monies that people were deceased or their address was wrong. The United States have been sitting on it for, I think, 17 years, a lot of years. The trust board several times has paid attorney's fees to help get that money released. So's the tribe, but we've always tried to work together to get that money released. I think that money, that's why the trust document was set up. The interest off of the monies is supposed to be spent on services to our tribal members, my opinion. That's what the trust document was set up for. Why do we need to create another trust when that's what the trust document that our people voted on several years ago is already in place? But the trust board's really willing to work with the tribal council. We recognize they're the governing body of the tribe. But we feel like splitting it 50-50, and then after 2 years, see which one's done a better job of management. And even if the tribe ends up taking half of it, I think the monies they earn off of that, the interest, should have to be spent on tribal members for services. That's what that money was intended for in the first place. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Roger Stewart.
I agree with Joe Brooks in that trust manager set, this trust document set up by individuals a lot smarter than you or I. It was set up to benefit our tribal members, not to be locked away in no rainy day fund. We don't need that. We need, there's individuals now that are hurting. They need the benefit of this money in their pocket.
Nathan Johnson.
The trust board was established as a result of the loss of our federal recognition. The purpose of this sovereign trust is to protect our tribe, our sovereignty. Each time our tribal sovereignty is challenged, which it has been, and we've lost our federal recognition multiple times, we've lost buildings, and we've paid millions of dollars in legal fees. All we're trying to do is set up a fund to protect against that. Calling it rainy day funds, we're trying to do something good, and we're kind of, it feels strange, you know, to like, what did we do so wrong?
You want to do
Excuse me,
the work?
point of order.
No, this is the point of order.
This is why, do not interrupt me,
Roger.
please, Roger, be respectful.
Roger.
This,
Very well. Give me something I can respect.
Oh,
that,
point of order.
you're embarrassing yourself. I will
Say
say
again?
this. I said you are embarrassing yourself.
Hey, we've already agreed that we're gonna alternate back and forth,
He had his say.
and I don't know, were you done?
No, it's good time.
No, and I'd like time to start over as well.
Okay.
Today, an opinion came through from our attorney that explained really a very important part about this, and the designation of this money and how it's been designated. And it says, the members of the Delaware Tribe of Indians, as defined in Article 2 of the Constitution of the Delaware Tribe, delegated to the Delaware Tribal Council the authority to govern the tribe and take care of all other business of the tribe. This money was not designated under 72 and 298 when it was released. If it was, it would go right into the trust. It was not. And then again, that's the last thing, I've had my say, we've had a vote, there's a motion on the floor, we're putting it into a sovereign trust. All this does is cause problems. I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends. But
We are friends.
But all this does is cause problems. We've already had a vote on this matter. This is the
That's right,
second
you
meeting
have.
on this.
You've had no
We're-
discussion with.
Guys, I'm gonna call a point of order on both of you.
I have the
If we
floor.
wanna get into personalities, I'll take both of these boards into executive session right now.
May I finish?
We're gonna all get to say our piece without an argument. We can argue down at the end of it.
I'm saying is I've already expressed my opinion on my vote on this. I think this is divisive to do this in this manner. And I do not understand, and I do not appreciate some of the ways that this good act has been characterized. Thank you.
I have a request, just a quick request. I'm not exactly sure what the council voted on. Could I get an explanation? what you would.
We
have
voted
wanted to do.
4-3 to set up a sovereign trust. Wealth,
I guess I just don't understand what the.
we're now
encompassing
looking
part
at ways to do that, right, Benita? Okay.
I guess John Thomas is next up.
Thank you, Chief, and I'll be civil. I've had conversation with numerous other members of our nation, and I think we all agree, Tribal Council and the Trust Board, that we want this money put in a safe place where it cannot be touched and we can work off the principle of it. Now, I heard this rainy day thing, and I don't know if that is still something that is being talked about. I see some heads no, so apparently that's out, so let's not even consider that. So the money will be protected, whether it's in the tribal council hands or whether it's in the trust board hands. Secondly, when the suit was filed, and if you look at the complaint, it said the Delaware tribe and the trust board. And then as mentioned, the trust board also paid in to our law firm to continue the case and fight the case. Now, it's just plain law. Anytime any individuals like this has a complaint and it's won, the money is split between the two people who made the complaint against whoever it might be. Now, I know it's kind of like a we've been Indians type of a thing. It may have some kind of effect on it, but that is the law according to some of the attorneys that I talked to. And we thought it would be fair not to the trust board asked that this money be given all to the trust board. We didn't think that would be fair because we figured, well, we're mentioned in the suit. The tribe is mentioned in the suit. Well, let's just half it up. And we both take care of whatever our responsibility is pertaining to that funding. And so that's where I think that, and secondly, thirdly, anything that we do pertaining to any interest of this money, no matter how it is set up with food, trust board, tribal council, or whatever, that the people have a say. It is the people's money. It's not the trust board money. It's not the tribal council's money. It's the Delaware nation. It's the Delaware people. If we cannot get together at the next general council meeting, 100 people, or at some time or another, where we can sit down and talk about exactly how they would like to have that interest of the money spent, that's what we owe the people. We were elected here by the people to serve the people, and when something like this comes together, that all the people should have an input on it. We shouldn't take away their voice. We should listen to them and see exactly what they have to say on how they want to do it. Thank you.
Bonnie Gilgood.
Well, I've made my view clear. I think right now we lock it up. If interest of it needs to go for the programs in the trust board, I don't have a problem with that. But I think as a council, we need to make sure, because I don't think the trust document protects it. The trust document only protects, what, $3-point-some million. And without a change in that trust document, I'm not willing to turn it over without a referendum vote changing the trust document. And I know, Vernon, you and I worked on the new trust document, and Nikki, and I don't want to see it put somewhere where there's not very tight control. But I don't have a problem with the interest on it going to the programs at all. I want to keep it there for future generations, for the minis of the world and the minis' grandkids of the world. So that's how I feel.
Berta Crawford.
I'm not exactly sure how to approach this. I feel that the monies did derive from the dockets. And the trust board opinion has been discussed that if any of the monies are put back into the trust, we will go for an amendment to the trust document to raise the amount of the money up at least to 4 million, maybe more. That could not be, we can't go lower than that. I feel that the people need to understand, and things have to be explained very plain, and so that everyone can understand. But I agree that some money is needed in both places. It's my understanding that if you have investments, the more money you have as a block, the more income you're going to get. So if you put the small amount into a different trust, it will make less than if it was combined with what we have. That's,
Interest rates, don't
well, that just, common sense is what I'm going after. But I feel that we should reach an agreement and to split the money and not fight over it. We don't need to do that. We don't need to separate and get factions again. We need to work together. Thank you.
Nikki Bye.
Thank you, Chief Monishi. I was one of the 3 in the minority that voted to not put it in a sovereign trust, but I'm not sure that's what we called it then. I knew we wanted to keep it in the tribal council at that point. But I also believe that it should be split. I'm actually more inclined to give it all to trust, but I don't mind a split as well, for the reasons that I think what the trust board is doing is working, that we've done really well with Harvest. I'm confident and it feels safe, it feels secure. The tribal members that have talked to me have expressed that very vociferously, and so I'm inclined to consider their opinions and their wishes, and I do agree with Verna very strongly about that. I think that we are getting split just in this particular issue, and it doesn't feel good either. Thank you.
I forgot that we had more council members here than trust members.
I can speak a
Joe's-
second time.
Joe's another trust member as well as a council.
Yeah.
I think he was speaking as a trust member before, so I guess
For both
I
sides.
just got one short thing to add. Let me speak from both sides.
we? Let him.
go ahead.
Most of the trust board members had already agreed if we split it 50-50, we'll raise that minimum from 3.8 to 4.8, where we can never, without a 2/3 vote to change the trust document, can't ever be changed. It'd have to be changed by the people. The adult voting membership of this tribe that's registered to vote. That's the only way it can be changed. And that was my intentions, is to get it on the ballot in November of this year. Change it to 4.8 million, from 3.8 up to 4.8.
Nikki Shea.
So I know when we first were on the verge of getting this money, we had started discussions of what are we gonna do with it. But then it was stopped and I was like, okay, what's first things first? Let's see if we get it first, then we'll talk about what we're gonna do with it. And I know one of our concerns has been, ensuring that it is put in a safe spot. And that's where we wanted to really research, do our due diligence to make sure that it is secure for our use, for our tribal members. And I will say because there was some misconception that the funds were not identified with the dockets 72 and 298, and they are under the control of the tribal council unless or until we do a resolution or by the tribal members or referendum to delegate that money into the trust board. So I just want to say that as the council, we took that approach and said, okay, let's figure this out. And I think that's what we've been doing as our due diligence. I am very impressed with Arvest and what they've done. Terrific job with that. And I think that's indicative of what that bank has done for the trust board and that trust money. My only thing at this point is to further investigate what Arvest could do for trust if we were to put that money in a trust, what they could do, how they could serve us, what kind of restrictions. We would have to, of course, consult with our attorney. And also what I would like to see is from the trust board, what a more defined plan of the funds that how you would use that. So I'm still in my, let's investigate. Let's figure out the best way. I'm keeping open-minded as to what's next, and keeping my ears and eyes open for any possibilities or promises that we could do. So I guess I would challenge the trust board to provide something as far as what your intent with that money would be. And then I also want to further talk to Arvest and our attorney about a trust that we could set with restrictions on it. That's where I'm at with it.
Mary Jo, we let one council member who's also a trust board member speak. So I think it's probably fair to let you speak, and then Charles, and then you and me both can finish speaking, and we'll open it up to members out there in the audience.
I'm Mary Jo Peterson. I'm currently chairman of the trust board, and I feel it would be fair for the funds to be split 50-50 between the current trust, Arvest Asset Management Investments. You are not just handing this money over to me or any of the individuals or all of us. It's going into the trust that has already been set up and has been functioning well for a number of years. And as far as what is going to be done with this money, well, you can look at the history of it. It's been set up by the will of the people, the earnings and the percentages that go to the different programs that do benefit all our Delaware people. And so that's my feelings. I don't want to say, oh, the trust board should get it all. I want to be fair and reasonable and respectful. And so my feelings are 50-50 split would be appropriate. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Charles Randall.
I'm not sure it's going to work. Anyway, main concern of everyone that spoke with the council is that these monies are protected for future generations. From the trust board and the council, I've heard that everyone agrees that the trust document, the way it is today, does not protect that money. Right now, that money is in a non-interest bearing account. And you can imagine $2 million not earning any kind of interest. We want to get that invested. We can't wait, I don't think, until the next election to make changes to the trust document. Also, the changes I heard make to the trust document is raising the amount from $3 million to $4 million. I'd like to see this money grow for our future generations to more than $4 million. I don't think that's the answer. I think we need to set up a trust document. I also think splitting this money in half and investing it two different ways is not the way to go. I think we need to keep that money together. I think we need to set up a trust that can't be broken. I don't want some future trust board member or council member coming up with money, ways to spend that money that we don't want to do. I want this money to be safe for the future generations. And that's why I want to keep it in the council, use our lawyer, set up a separate trust. It's still going to be the principal in that trust, is still going to go to the benefit of the people, just like the trust board. Trust board has done a super job. I'm really proud of them, what they've done. But I think we need to set this up separate and keep it going for the people, the tribal members. We want to protect this money for the future, not spend it for right now.
Mary Jo?
I feel that it will be adequately safeguarded and it will be used for the people. It's the 50-50 split. And I also feel that if you could ask all the Delawares, that the majority would agree with that. And as some other people have mentioned, it's not my money, it's not your money, it's all the Delawares' money, and future Delaware is not yet born. That's all I have to say.
I'm gonna go ahead and say my piece, I guess, and then we'll open it up to tribal members. First of all, a lot of these funds are from docket 72 to 98. Yes, I've seen our attorney's recommendation as of this morning, actually. He said, if these monies are from 72 and 98, it would be automatic that they should go under the management of the trust board. And he pointed out that there's other pieces of money in there. I asked our other attorney that worked for 17 years on this thing, Tom Peckham, over a year ago, are these trust monies or otherwise? And his answer was both. I assume they're both because they came from 72 and 298, but they were sent out per capita and come back because of death or no address. In my mind, if they're not both, why would the tribal council and the trust board sue jointly in 2002 to recover these funds? I really think this is simply an argument about how we're going to protect these funds for future generations. I'm not a financial guru, but I heard Scott Thompson say this evening, the tighter you lock up those funds from a safety standpoint, the less it's going to make you. You know, we got more trust funds now than we ever had, but it's only worth about half of what it was worth in 1991 because of inflation. Are there tribal members out there that you wish to make a comment? And And since we've limited ourselves as best we can to 3 minutes, I'll ask tribal members to do that also.
Test it. Thank you. From what I've sat here and heard, mainly coming out of the majority of the council, the trust board's incompetent. That's what I've heard. And I'm not the only one. They don't have a good, secure position for our monies. And I disagree with that. I'm not speaking from my position on the trust board, but I was serving. I know how it was run. Personally, I believe that the whole amount should go to the trust board, but it was a joint suit between the council and the trust board. And I agree with the chief. Simple explanation, solution, split it. And it's true. If you lock up that money, it's not going to do the tribe any sort of good. Yes, it's going to be safe. But what's going to be the benefit to the tribal members, to the programs, the elders, the education, which is sorely in a hurt. I'm even ashamed to see that. But either way, that's my opinion, but it's also some opinion of the others. But you're also forgetting the people's right to initiative petition for referendum vote. You're already acting like this is a done deal. No, it isn't. Thank you.
Kathy?
I've got 2 things to say. Doesn't the government govern the banks? Okay, look at what the government did to the Indians to begin with. They lied, cheated, and stole from us. I don't trust the banks. I don't trust the United States government. I think the trust board was created to take care of these monies that the Delawares do have. And 21 years ago, the tribe was at the old Bureau of Mines. I was in an abusive relationship. My son and I had no place, no resources. I went to the tribe. They didn't know what to do. They never had a situation, my situation, before. I don't remember what the 2 men's name were. They came up with the money to put me and my son in a motel for 2 weeks so we would be safe. And I think our tribal members need the monies, for stuff like that. And I don't think it should be capped like so much money. I think it should be per situation, because not everybody has the same situation. And I think it should look back and see that, it's going to take more. I don't know why the Delawares don't invest some of this money in a home for these homeless. We have homeless Delaware members. And where do they go? They hit the streets. And do you think that's fair for our tribal members? Have no place? And you guys are fighting over, whether you do this money and this money. Put it to the use of the Delaware tribal members who really need it. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll recognize anybody.
Leslie had it down there.
I'm sorry, Leslie, I'm missing the hand.
Oh, Leslie Jordan. So I heard the term sovereign trust, the council would put it in a sovereign trust. So I'm assuming that that's going to be for investment purposes. Sovereign is global investments. So an investment purpose and something a bit more aggressive so we have an opportunity to earn more interest off of our principal. Is that correct? It's not correct.
If I may, we'll stop your time. And I guess it maybe needs to be explained to members of the
Trust board, I think, if I'm this was, I'm proud to say this was my idea. And it's called a sovereign trust, and it was based on what other tribes and countries do. And it's a fund that is established to protect our tribe in case our federal recognition is challenged again. The Cherokee Nation challenged our federal recognition multiple times. We lost the mines building that the lady speaks of, paying for those attorney bills. This, what the tribal council is arguing for, is to set up a sovereign trust. It is basically a lockbox for emergencies in case there is a long-term government shutdown, in case we have an election, say in Tahlequah, that doesn't go very well for us, somebody that doesn't feel that we should exist, and they challenge our recognition again, which is very, 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 you could bet on this. This could happen. So it's not really about trying to make money for the tribe. It's trying to protect our sovereignty and to make sure that the Delaware tribe exists in the future and that we are not decimated without any buildings, with any lands. We're working hard trying to get land into trust. I know that members of this council worked on this for years and years, put steady pressure on Tom Peckham for years to get this money. It's beguiling to me that this has become such a divisive issue. I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
Thank you for answering that. So I understand now the shell and the purpose of that, and I didn't before, so I appreciate that answer. So I guess the next question would be, so the council would put it in what kind of financial vehicle inside that sovereign trust? Are we talking about something that would have to be secure? Because secure. Okay. So it's to protect our sovereignty in the future. And if it stayed in trust, or if it not stayed because it's not there, if it went to trust, then would we be doing an investment instead? Is this an argument of who's going to do what with the funds? I don't understand why the two are arguing over who has the funds, I guess.
I agree to a sense. I agree with you in a sense because there has been a motion that has been passed, and everybody acts like we haven't passed a motion to do this, to create this sovereign trust.
We're talking about, we've already voted on it and made a decision to create a sovereign trust. And we directed the treasurer to find the best investment situation for us, and we're working with our attorneys to set a very high bar, say a long-term government shutdown or challenge to our federal recognition, to access the funds. So we don't have another situation like when the housing department was dissolved and the money was spent, although the housing authority was dissolved and the money was spent on land in Lawrence, Kansas that we're still trying to deal with. So that's the type of, we're trying to learn from those kind of situations and look forward to protect the sovereignty of our tribe with this project.
Yeah, bro.
I just want to add, the trust board is doing everything in their power to protect that money for future generations. But we have a reinvestment committee, so we are growing that money each year. 10% goes back into reinvestment. I disagree with one council member, I'm not going to name any names, but that money is protected. It takes a 2/3 vote of our people to change the trust document from 3.8 million, not 3 million. It's 3.8 million. And if the trust board gets half of that money, we intend to try to raise it, if our people vote for it, to 4.8 million. So that money will still be protected. But like some of the other tribal members have said, the interest off that money should go for tribal services, not for future generations. It'll be for future generations too. But what about our people now? What about our elders that's getting old? So stop and think about when the tribe was not federally recognized. Where do you think all the funds was coming from to keep this tribe afloat? I want you tribal people to think about that. Where do you think the funds come from to keep this tribe afloat? Trust board.
We was in existence, it wasn't recognized.
We want to work together with the tribal council, but we don't want to be told that we're incompetent to handle the money.
You don't know what you're talking about.
From a member perspective, if I may, there hasn't been a whole lot of resources to allocate around even for the middle class who are not suffering on the street. So I agree, from what I understand from Arvest and what they said today, the trust board has managed the current funds that has been in their control. It sounds like those funds are safe and they've been earning interest and we're with a good financial person. But on the other hand of that, from a member perspective, there's $300 offered for my son for college services. There are, you know, hardly $100 for school supplies for my 2 children in public school. And these are services that I may very well need just as a middle class member. I'm not talking about folks who are low income or without a job and searching. Why? Because we don't have the money. We don't have the money to help our members the way that other tribes are helping their members. We're not even on that same page. So to say, where did all that money come from? What money for the members? If we keep saying it's money for the members, we haven't seen the full benefit of what could possibly be. So for me personally, I think that if it was with the trust, fine. If it's with the council, fine. That's going to be sorted out between the two offices that may be, and you guys will determine that, and we'll go from there. But if it's in a sovereign trust and it's protecting things down the future line, just as I heard explained to me, that makes more sense because we have an opportunity to protect ourselves as a whole while we still have a board who's done a fine job managing the millions that are already there. Splitting it for what? Power control? That doesn't make sense for me either. And it also doesn't make sense for me as a member that you guys feel good that it gets split 50-50 because then everybody has a little say. I don't care about that. I'd rather it be with one of you or the other. That way I can hold one office or the other accountable, not both. So take it and do with it what needs to be done. And in my opinion, I think from what I've heard, the detail of a sovereign trust makes sense for the future. That's my opinion.
Charles. I'd like to make a comment on that. As Joe said, I mean, the trust board is out to protect the money, same as the council. But raising the base from 3.8 million to 4.8 million only saves it for a period of time. That doesn't really save it for the future.
That's exactly what the council wants to do, take a 2/3 vote of the membership to change what you're going to do with the money.
But I don't want a base set at 4.8. I want that principal to grow, and I also want the principal to go to the benefit of the tribe.
And so does a trust board. That's why we got
Exactly.
a reinvestment committee for 10% each year. Whatever our budget is, 10% goes to reinvestment.
We both have the same goals. It's just, do we separate this money and split it out for a power play or something like that?
No, I think
Or
we're
do we
trying to
keep
get
it
along.
together and have, what's the difference? We have 2 trusts, one that we set up that doesn't have a capita that it's going to protect. It's going to protect everything that we specify in that trust.
Charles,
It's also
did
going
you
to
take a
provide.
resolution of the, 2 resolutions of the trust board and the tribal council to get that money released?
It did. I agree.
Absolutely.
But
That is not the basis, that is no legal basis to say that they are entitled to, that is not an argument, that is not an argument.
We should
Can I use my
Point of
minute?
order. We still got a minute and a half.
I've got a minute and a half, so give me a minute and a half. Now I forgot my train of thought. But basically, we both want the same thing. And we both want to benefit the people out there. We spent $1 million for some land up in Lawrence. And that